So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, best iPhones to buy after the Apple event. So today I want to discuss kind of like where the state of the lineup is now with the iPhone. Here's the XS, psych, it's the iPhone 10. I just got that wallpaper from the XS. I do have a XS coming, already pre-ordered, and a XS Max. Both will be on the channel, and pre-orders just went live yesterday, and I just want to quickly discuss something that I found rather interesting. You know, you might find this interesting as well. The 512 gigabyte, as you can see, has been pushed back here for this XS Max, the silver model, or the gold model, excuse me, and a few of the other ones have been as well. And I was actually closely monitoring this, and it looks like that the 512 gigabyte option is pretty popular right now, like the most popular option, because it's the first one that was delayed. Either that, or they just didn't have as many of those models on hand, because those were the ones that got pushed back first, were the 512 gigs. So this shows that people are definitely willing to go $1,500, at least here in the US, for an iPhone, you know, XS Max or an iPhone 10. But if you do notice something that's rather interesting as well, if you go to pre-order, like say an iPhone XS, the small one, this phone is not really sold out in basically any type of color, any type of capacity. This phone's available, especially the silver one that looks like the one I have in my hand from last year. That's the most unpopular model I'm noticing so far. And then if you go to get the space gray, you can also see it's still available. So the smaller model, definitely not the more popular model, but we have a new lineup, and these two phones are now gone. The iPhone SE and the 6S series. All right, so beginning with the first thing I want to discuss, the SE is now gone from the lineup. You know, we've covered it a lot on the channel. This is officially discontinued. So Apple, that means Apple no longer sells this officially at the Apple stores. So that means basically that Apple no longer sells this officially. You're going to have to find this now third party if you want your hands on one of these one-handed iPhone SEs. It's pretty much the way of the past here, but the SE is still supported on iOS 12, so we will be covering it still on the channel with the iOS 12 versus, you know, some other phones, and maybe even on its own as a separate, you know, review. So when considering if it's one of the best iPhones to pick up now, I think it's one of the best, you know, cheap options you're going to be able to get, because now with all these new iPhones that just came out, this one might get even cheaper than it's ever been before. But I think some prepaid carriers are going to, you know, they're going to just basically grab Apple's old stock and just bring it to their carrier and charge a cheaper price. So the SE is kind of mixed. It's going to be a really good, you know, cheap value to find, as it is going to still be supported. It's only a 2-year-old phone. It should be supported for at least another couple of years easily. But I think it's sad news for a lot of people who wanted to see the one-handed iPhone SE get a replacement, and Apple gave people what they didn't even ask for, which is the iPhone XR. I think people wanted to see a smaller form factor iPhone SE. Now, getting on to the iPhone 6S series, I'm going to use the Plus here. I have the 6S over there, so we're going to just use the 6S Plus as an example. The 6S and the 6S Plus now, are these still going to be great finds? And I think yes, because these phones are also going to get cheaper, and I think they're going to get significantly cheaper because, you know, when you're looking for an iPhone now, you got the 7, 7 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus. There's just so many that this device should come down significantly. You also will get a headphone jack here, the last for a 6S. So the A9 CPU was the big, you know, show here for the iPhone 6S series. And even now, the A9 CPU is still plenty fast. And with iOS 12, it's going to get even better. So the iPhone 6S Plus to me remains a strong value, even though we have all these new iPhones. Still has thick bezels on the 6S and the 6S Plus, but you're not buying this going into it knowing I'm getting a notch, I'm getting a new design. You already know you're not getting that here, but what you will be getting is still at least a couple more years of software updates, and you still get a headphone jack. And I would say, well, if you like that classic design, you'll like that. But is it sad to see the 6S Plus go? Not really. I think the SE is a little bit more sad to see go, because you wanted to see Apple bring, a lot of people wanted to see Apple bring something to replace that. But the 6S Plus has been around for a while, and with the 7 Plus and the 8 Plus being basically the same phone, I'm not really sad to see that one go. So next up is the iPhone 7 series. I'm using the 7 Plus here. I also have a 7 over there, but I'm going to keep it out of the shop for now. We'll just talk about the 7 and 7 Plus here. Both of these phones did receive price discounts, so you're going to get these at $100 or so cheaper, and that basically puts the iPhone 7 series in the slot that the iPhone 6S and the SE used to be. So the smaller 7 is going to be under $500. So that's a pretty good deal if you wanted an iPhone 7 years ago and you didn't want to pay Apple $800 so for an iPhone 7. And the 7 Plus is still, it's a little bit over 500, and it's going to go up a little bit from there depending on your storage capacity. But it's kind of that mid-range price phone now in the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. So, you know, for what you get, I don't think it's really worth that. I think that the iPhone 7 should be under 400, and I think this one should be well under 500 in the iPhone 7 Plus. But at the same time, you get an A10 CPU. You're going to get a very color accurate display with the P3 color gamut that came to the 7 series. Very fast phones. They're still very fast. Great cameras on these as well. And they do 4K 30 frames per second, IP67. The iPhone 7 has stereo speakers. It has a lot to offer at that price point. But the design is definitely something that probably is not going to impress many people if they want the more sleek design. But again, when you go into the iPhone 7, you know that it's going to be this older design. So is it one of the best iPhones to get right now after the Apple event in the 7 series? And I think if you want to get the cheapest way into now, if you go in the Apple store, the cheapest way to now get in the Apple ecosystem is going to be the 7 series. I think it's a pretty darn good phone. I just think that there's many better options at this price point on the market. And I think Apple could have went a little lower for the 7. So that brings me on to the 8 series. Here's the 8 Plus, and this has been one of the most favorited phones on this channel ever. You know, I've done a ton of videos on this one, and I've always really liked this phone a lot. And it's because it just was like a refined version of the 7 Plus, but it brought wireless charging. It brought the same power as the iPhone 10, but allowed you to keep your Touch ID authentication. So let's just put it this way. The iPhone 8 Plus is a beast in an old form factor. So if you want a beast in that old form factor, you still want Touch ID because that's now gone on any of the new iPhones. The iPhone 8 Plus might still be enticing at $699, and going up from there, you actually are now in the same price category as the iPhone XR. So I know a lot of people are going to want to see when that arrives to the channel, the 8 Plus or the XR, because they're literally going to be around that same price category. The Product Red Edition is now gone from the Apple Store. You can no longer get the iPhone 8 Plus. It was special edition Product Red. You had to get it from like that time they launched. It was around April till now. So it was a really short period of time. So if you want Product Red, you're going to have to find this third party now. As far as the smaller iPhone 8, if you can find some discounts on that one, like, you know, that can be a really good deal because it has the power inside as well as the newer iPhone 10. The A11 Bionic chipset. So the iPhone 8 can be a steal if you can find it at a good price point. And that brings us on to discontinued phone number 3, the iPhone 10. And this one wasn't a shocker to people who follow the industry. There's been rumors for a long time the iPhone 10 will be discontinued this year. And that's exactly what happened when Apple announced their iPhones on September 12th. They dropped the iPhone 10 from the lineup. And a lot of people are wondering, wow, people just paid $1,000 and you already took that out of the lineup, making their phone feel like it's dated. But it's not really like that because the iPhone 10 really has no place in the current lineup if you really think about it. You know, if you can get an iPhone 10 for cheaper, nobody's going to want to buy the iPhone 10s because they're going to be like, it's basically the same phone. Nobody's going to want to buy the 10R because they'll just pay like $100 more and get a much more premium stainless steel OLED screen. And a lot of people, I think, would still buy the iPhone 10 over the 10R if it was around that same price point. So the 10 Apple didn't want to make because the materials cost more for them to produce. They just wanted to replace it with the 10s, and that's exactly what they did. So the 10 is not really gone technically. The 10s is just the 10 now. So different name, but basically the same phone. So I don't really consider this discontinued. I really just consider it replaced because basically they have the same phone on the shelf this year. But is the iPhone 10 one of the best iPhones you can buy right now? Because now you're only going to be able to find a third party. And I say yes, because here's why. I've been seeing these plummet in value. I've seen them on eBay for under $700 already. I've seen them in the $650 price for an iPhone 10. That is crazy considering that right after the announcement of the iPhone, the values went down. These phones were just $1,000 a week ago. You can now get these under $700. Granted, some of them are used, but some of them are refurbished. Some of them are new. But you can find these now under that $700 price point, and that's less than the iPhone XR. You're getting a better screen. You potentially can get more storage for a cheaper price, and you get a more premium, stainless steel build. Now, the A12 Bionic is faster, but you get that cheap LCD screen compared to this OLED screen here. You don't get the dual camera on the 10R. You can say, well, it doesn't matter. The iPhone 10R has the new camera. That's true, but you still don't get the dual camera. And I'm pretty sure those upgrades aren't going to be like mind blowing. They're going to be a little bit better, but iPhones every year with their slight upgrades with the camera, it doesn't seem like it changes. It's more like Apple keeps refining it, tweaking it just a little bit to make it a little bit better every year, just so you notice that little bit better. My iPhone's a little bit better. That's how it feels like for me ever since the 7 Plus, the 8 Plus, the iPhone 10. That's what I've experienced when it comes to the camera department. So what an announcement it was this year with all these iPhones. And there you go. That's basically how I feel about what are the best iPhones to buy for a really cheap and really good phone for one-handed use. The iPhone SE, finding it on third party, should be cheaper than ever. So it's one of the best if you're looking for a cheap phone. The iPhone 6S is going to be a good choice. I don't think it's one of the best because, you are going to be able to get an iPhone 7 now at cheaper prices, and it has better specifications than a 6S. So the 6S, I think, is going to get left behind rather quickly. So I think the 6S is going to be the one that kind of doesn't get as much love, because now if you can get an iPhone 7 cheaper, then why would you go with a 6S? They're still going to be pushing this into some other markets. The 6S was actually being produced, I believe it was in India, for sale again. So the 6S will be hot in certain markets, but overall as a global market, I think that the 6S is definitely going to be gone soon. Now, in terms of the old school Apple devices, we're talking the iPhone 6 Plus, and we're talking the iPhone 6 A8 CPUs. Please, if you're going to buy an iPhone, trust me on this one, you don't want these A8 CPUs. And yes, they are enticing because they have that newer looking 6S Plus design. They got the same iPhone 6S design here for the 6. A lot of people still really love these devices here, but these are much slower than anything with an A9 and above. And that's been in my experience with those. But we will be covering, iPhone 6 is a 6, this is a 6 Plus. We will be covering these A8 devices to see how they improved on iOS 12. So that's it for me. Which iPhones do you think are the best buy after the iPhone event? Now this video was specifically focused on the past of Apple. We're not talking about all the new ones. We'll talk about those when they get here. I wanted to discuss the former lineup because a lot of people just wait till the new ones come out to buy the old ones. That's the point of this video. So I want to know your feedback. Are you picking up one of these old iPhones? You got any questions about them? Drop them down below in the comment section of this video. Or are you skipping all of these and you're jumping straight to one of the new boys? Let us know about that. And I left a poll that I got the iPhone XS and XS Max coming, and I asked you guys to leave some feedback. If you didn't get around to that, you might want to leave your video suggestions to the upcoming XS and XS Max to the channel. If you want to see something and you don't want me to forget to make that, make sure you get that one down below. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.